Okay, now I'm recording. Hello, everybody. One more time, I'm Mary Kemper. I'm a math director in Coppell, Texas. Outside of DFW, keynote, numbers, great for math, and here's why. Sorry, I forgot to press record before. In the, Valerie, I owe you one. In the chat, I pasted a link to my digital portfolio where you can find directly a link to the learning journals I've created using numbers. So I'm going to go there now. And I'll share from there. It's so awkward when everybody's so quiet and I'm just talking to myself. Y'all feel free to chat. Okay, so here is my digital portfolio where I have my numbers learning journals for you, and feel free to bookmark, share, save this URL. They're organized by topic, not grade level. That's because sometimes we need to accelerate or intervene, or we can enrich and extend. And I didn't want you to feel stifled by a specific grade level. So the one I'm going to start with is this one called input output tables. You don't have to access it right now, but you're welcome to. I actually have it ready to share on numbers. Just kidding.
Mary, I put it there for you. I think that's it. Is that it? The one?
Let me see. Hold on. My apologies. Input tables. Here we go.
I did that. I haven't done the long part. It's like, right in there. Which long part are you talking about? That thing, another with the bullet points.
That one, okay, yeah.
Okay, so this is a numbers file that I created and shared during our remote learning this year with a class of fifth graders. And I love using numbers because using the tabs, we can organize a learning experience right here for the kids to toggle through. Now, now I'm going to ask you, looking at this image, what do you notice? So if you were a student, a class of students, I would ask you that question and have you respond either as a class, maybe right here through the chat, or have you write directly in this spot using your Apple Pencil, or you could add text. And from there, you could also get into what do you wonder. So anybody want to talk about what you think the students might say about this image of this antique Coke machine?
They may say they don't see cans, they only see bottles.
Yeah, so I do want to acknowledge anything that they recognize that may or may not be exactly connected to the lesson that I want to talk about, like the snowshoes on the wall or the bottles. And then we keep, after we get past that part, right? Then we get to, oh, it's only 10 cents. Okay, well, what else? What do you notice about it being only 10 cents? And what do you wonder? Okay, so the whole point of this is to start or launch the learning experience with something, a visual, something tangible, something that we're all going to talk about together. From there, this learning experience goes to something in a similar way, but is more contrived. Like I have this candy jar, and then my daughter pulled 3 of the candies out, and then 3 more of the candies out, and you see this pattern happening. So let's look at this in terms of, sorry, it's already answered here, in terms of an input output chart. So a long time ago, I would start the lesson with an input output chart, or with this process column. And I would say, just look for the pattern and just fill it in. But now that we're starting with something tangible, like this candy jar, where you have 24 candies and we're pulling out 3 every single day, I want you to notice how I'm using this just black rectangle to cover up and help my students zoom in on a specific row at a time, because the whole table is a little overwhelming. But by giving them only a bit at a time and then giving them the control to move that box is something really simple, but I like to do that to help them be in control of what they're able to see. Now, I've also used conditional formatting or conditional highlighting here. And so if the jar started with 24 candies and my daughter Stella pulled out 3 on the first day, that would leave 21 candies in the jar. So if the student were to type in 21 in the table and press return, or even on their iPad, type it in, the formatting I've put in place turns that cell green. Now, you could choose to turn the cell any color you want. You could make it turn a different color if it was incorrect or maybe close or a certain misconception. You could say, like, if they subtracted wrong, what do you want it to turn? But this way, it gives them that feedback that's immediate and allows them to self-check. And so after 24 candies are in the jar, but I've subtracted 3 for 2 days, there should be 18. But if they subtract wrong and they say maybe 19, or they misunderstand and think, oh, maybe it's 15 here, it doesn't turn green, because the conditional highlighting that's been set up has it set to be only 18 to be correct. So a really simple strategy for you to set up some feedback for the students is that conditional right here. And so I'm just going to give you a brief tip to go over this, and it's not a whole session on this, but it has highlighting rules. So I can go to the highlighting rule and see that the next row, if you follow the pattern, should be equal to 15. And if it's equal to 15, it's going to turn green. So I did that behind the scenes. Now, yes, a student could access that and could like hack in and look at my coding behind the scenes. But if a student has the opportunity and the ability to do that, then they're on a different level mathematically, and we can have another conversation. So one tip for you, hopefully, to take from this session is to use that conditional highlighting in order to provide that feedback for the students. I just want to show you a couple more things on this before I go to the next numbers file. And that is, I love to use patterning like this to go to the input output charts.
Here, then I go to the candy jar, then I go to and they have all these activities they can do. Is that considered one spreadsheet?
But when you do, I want the student to explain what's happening.
Spreadsheet, but you can delete all the stuff.
I want you to make sense. Hold on just a second.
The table, and you can add anything in there. It's actually, if you use for drawing or taking notes, it's infinite.
There you go. Okay, I want the students to use their words and explain what's happening with this rhombus pattern or any pattern. And so I want them to explain in words and put it right here. Now, I'm on my Mac, but you could do this on your iPad for sure. But on my Mac, I'm going to choose insert and record audio and just say, I noticed in stage 1, there's 4 rhombuses. There's 2 on the left and 2 on the right. And then I noticed for stage 2, I still see the same 2 on the left and 2 on the right. And then there's been 2 more added on the left and 2 more added on the right. And then in stage 3, there's 2 more added on the left and 2 more added on the right. So hopefully you saw from that, like I had this emphasis. There's something I can get from hearing someone's voice and emphasizing certain words that you really just can't get from text. And so then I would just choose insert, and then I can put it right here on that dot. And so I know I'm speaking maybe to myself as a learner to reflect on my learning. Maybe I'm speaking to my partner and we're going to compare our responses. Maybe I'm recording for my parents to hear, or even for the teacher to get to figure out my process. I like to put a dot where I want the students to add their recording so that it's a visual, like I need to put something on that spot. Now I want them to extend the pattern. This is just a simple math lesson. So I want them to extend the pattern. So then they'll just drag and say, well, what would the next one look like? I need to bring this to the front. And then I will continue the pattern like this. A simple way to have the students extend a pattern really teaches me to know if they know really what comes next. And that doesn't tell me everything they know about the pattern, but I know they understand this is what's happening and this is what's next. And so there's this interactive piece rather than maybe a multiple choice. So I'm not going to go through the rest of that, but I wanted to show you a little example of using numbers for interactivity, self-check. How do they share their, I want to answer some questions before I go on. How do the students share their work? Okay, so we use a learning management system where, yes, the students could upload the entire numbers file, but we have a couple options, what I encourage my teachers to do. So if there's like audio recordings and things like that, I want the students to submit either the numbers file or a screen recording of the numbers file, of the certain sheet of numbers to our learning management system. If there's not an interactivity, but rather like a final product, they just take a screenshot and submit that one. The reason we want them to do that is we want them to turn something into the learning management system each day. This was back in the time of remote learning for attendance purposes, but then it's not such a large file to upload either. Let's see. And I also know that it's not always about turning the assignment into me. It's also about, I could also walk around as the educator as we are in person and do a visual check and have them submit it to their digital portfolio as well. So it's not about turning it really into me. Okay. Okay. So now let me share one more numbers file with y'all, and then we'll get on to Keynote because it's way more exciting. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe you love it. Okay. So this one is secondary, and it's about the Pythagorean theorem. Long story short, here's this excites me because I like secondary math, but if I want to figure out how long the side is of this triangle, there's a lot of steps to take to get there. So I want the kids to make a plan. So right here, they will record audio and stick their button about their plan, and then they'll start to do their work. But I don't want them to go all the way through if they made a mistake early on. So I want to give them a checkpoint, or I want you to just say, hey, did you get this part right? Because if you got this part right, then you continue. But if you're not correct there, I need you to go back. So in order to give them a checkpoint, I hit it right here. So if the kids double tap here, then the checkpoint appears. So one more time, if they double tap here, the checkpoint appears. Do y'all want me to show you how I did that? Okay, I see a nod from Brian. So, okay, so I'm going to actually just duplicate this. And okay, so this was what I had for the students. Just here's a table. It doesn't have to be this. It can be anything you want to hide and reveal. And so I'm going to look here and see what the solution was. And it was 14 units and 7 3/4. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. Actually, that was, to be specific, it was actually approximately, for all my math friends, okay, approximately 7 3/4. So I'm going to insert I like a target because it gives me something to double tap on. And then I'll just put a little note that says, hey, double tap here. Okay, so I'm going to take a screenshot or take a picture of this. So it's on my camera roll. And then paste it down. So now it's just an image. And I'm going to mask it. So I'm in a sense erasing from the mask the part I don't want them to see. So I'll do that one more time. It's just an image. And I want to mask it, or actually change the mask. I don't know the term for that, but I'm cutting that part out. So the only thing that shows is that target. And then when you double tap, the whole thing shows up. So I don't think that I'm giving the students the answers by doing this. It's more like I'm just kind of taking it out of their line of sight momentarily, and then giving them the opportunity to check that. I don't want them to come run to me, Mrs. Kimber, is this correct? I want them to check on their own. This is just a checkpoint along the way. This isn't the final answer. This is just the hypotenuse of the green triangle and the gray triangle, which is part along the way to get to the yellow one. And then I also wanted to tell them, if they're struggling, here's some more information to learn more. But that's the masking part. Let's see. Oh, dude, Battle Mania. I'm all about it. Okay, so there's that part. And thankfully I am recording this. Okay. What was the other thing I wanted to show you on this before I go? It's already 2:20 before I go over to Keynote. This is about Pythagorean triples. Oh, this uses the formulas for Pythagorean triples, but it's the same thing I showed before, which is the conditional. That says it's not finished. Sorry. I like to give the students a spot to make notes. Like, here is where I want you to make notes. I really want you to do it right here because it gives you a spot to confine your ideas. I like to include videos where they play it and they watch it again and again. And when they're able to, they can see what's happening. And if they have questions, it makes it more accessible in a matter of words. So anyway, that's the obscure geometry task. So I hope I've interested you a little bit in using numbers. And I'll jump over to Keynote. Are we ready to go to Keynote? Does anybody want me to stop and answer anything about numbers? Anything? Y'all know how to get a hold of me? Okay. Let's jump to Keynote. Okay.
Mary, I actually have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you have a method for when you choose Keynote, when you use numbers? If conditional highlighting were in Keynote, would you use numbers? Because it is in Pages, right? But not in Keynote.
One
or
of
what
the
else
reasons
is there in numbers? Like, is it like the project lessons where you have the tabs? Why I find this difficult to explain in workshops as well. Why is a
Yes.
tab different than going to a next slide?
Well, I use Keynote anytime I want the students to animate anything. I mean, I know they could go to Keynote, animate it, and pull it into numbers. I know they could do that. But if I want them to do it if I want the kids to animate anything, I'm going to have them do it in Keynote. I'm probably going to create the task in Keynote. I also think about the experience the learners have. So I try to tack into, so like I have some educators who utilize Keynote in other subject areas. My friend Jody Deinhammer uses Keynote with her kiddos in science. And so if my teachers who teach math alongside Jody are willing to implement something, I want to use the same thing so that the students are familiar, if that makes sense. But I think that's a really great question about when to use what. I always think about, well, what are you going to do with it? like, are you going to publish it? Are you, because I'm using Pages for my curriculum documents now, because ultimately I want to publish to EPUB. But yeah, numbers, infinite in size, there's a lot of reasons about that. But let me show you this Keynote stuff. And I'm going to keep thinking about how do I clearly articulate that answer, because I feel like I fumbled, but that's a good, thanks for that question.
Yeah, the power of checklists though, and also be able to relationally tie a table to another table, graph, all those kind of things are built in the numbers. I mean, a lot of real powerful things you can do. So Keynote can't do that.
True. And I'm not even sure if there is like a real answer to that. I was just wondering about your perspective, and it changes as well with every new update.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm never hesitant to share a feature request. So thanks for that. So to talk briefly about learning journals in Keynote, here, I'll put this link in the chat. You could probably navigate to their, well, you could probably fumble your way to their from the other one, because it's all within my portfolio. But let me show you this part. I don't know if I'm ever going to be really smooth with navigating sharing screens. Maybe I will. Okay, so here is my portfolio collection with the Keynote learning journals. These again are kind of topic specific. I want to start with this one called Representing Numbers and Interpreting Place Value. Hopefully the first thing you notice from that is that it's colorful. And if this was more than 45 minutes, I would have started with, so tell me like how you feel about what math was like. What was it like when you were a student? All that good stuff. And you probably would not have said, well, maybe you would have said, but I would think you would not have said colorful, animated, with lots of music and images. Anyway, so this is some topics around place value, because it's very important at the elementary level to see this patterning with our place value. And one benefit of technology is the ability to zoom. I mean, it's unbelievable. So I'm going to start here and show you like this great ability to zoom. Our base 10 system is a beautiful thing. Like, it's a phrase I never thought I'd use, but the number 1 can be represented with one cube, one small little cube. I can stack 10 of them together and make 10 together, and we're going to call that a long. So a cube, a long, I can make 10 of those together and make a flat. Now from there, I can make a cube of those and make 1,000. Then I can make a long of those and make 10,000. And then I can make a flat of those and make 100,000. And this pattern continues infinitely with our base 10 system. Cube, long, flat, cube, long, flat, and it's just beautiful. Now, with technology, I'll tell you, my teachers don't have this many of these 1,000 cubes. For some reason, when they're sold in actual tangible manipulatives, each teacher gets like maybe one. But with technology, we're able to do something that we've never been able to do before, which is represent numbers that are very large with a tangible or manipulatable image.
Solo in Italia, perché come diceva il professor Taormina, ci vorranno rogatori internazionali. Sarà molto difficile avere dagli altri.
So let's say we have this number. It's giant, 7,868,000,000. So I want to model this, but I want my students to really do it. And I want them to see the connection between this and expanded notation, which is right here at the top. I want them to see that the number 7 billion includes 7 1 billions, 800 millions. And so if I wanted them to build it, they could just actually drag 7 of the billion cards. And this act shows them that there's 7 of them. And this simple interactivity begins to make that connection back over here to this expanded notation that there's 7 of them. Simple but it bridges the concrete to abstract. Even though this isn't a tangible thing for them to hold, this is an interactive on a digital tool, they're in control of it. They're not only consuming, they're actually creating the number. And so by doing this and actually seeing I use intentional colors and everything, then they can move down and build the number like this and see the connection to expanded form that maybe a different number like 238,855 is built using 200,000, 30,000, 8,800. But by doing that, they see the connection to standard form down here at the bottom. Now, I know I'm rambling a lot about math, but I wanted to show you a way that you could use Keynote to make an interactive about math numbers, and that zooming in and moving numbers around, that interactivity is a connection there to math in that way. Scientific notation. We need to talk about scientific notation. Not today, but we do. Okay. I have one more, if I can open it up real quick. One more keynote I wanted to share about. This is the kindness challenge. And in second grade, I wanted the students to, oh, just kidding. The wrong keynote is showing. Just a sec. Now, okay. So the kindness challenge, it's a little bit scaffolded in my portfolio. This is the second grade version, but I wanted them to collect data for a reason. So many times we're graphing information that's just a little superficial. So first it's hard to beat Kid President. So they are inspired by Kid President, and then they jump into brainstorming in what ways can your team show kindness toward others. So imagine 3 second graders sitting together thinking about how they can show kindness towards others. Then they decide the top 4 from their brainstorm list, and then they actually take photos of them doing those things. These are media placeholders. If this was on an iPad, these would be a little plus symbols, but they can add a photo. So I'm collecting artifacts. So I don't even need to be there. They can take a picture. This is their evidence of learning. Then they collect data of their 4 ways to be kind to others. Then they can organize their data and then reflect. How did the challenge impact themselves? And how did it impact others? The reason I put this together was it was kind of the end of the year. And sometimes our educators are like, I don't know what to do. I finished all the content, but we're preparing for state testing, or we're working on this other thing. And I was like, well, there's always time to be kind. There's always time to work with teamwork. There's always time for personalized learning. So this is a really simple way, but I wanted them to have an opportunity to make their own impact to their own small little dent in the world. And so I wanted to show you that I really love media placeholders. It just sets them right up. They already know there's 4 things I need to take a picture of. They can take a picture and add it. They could take a picture on their camera roll and airdrop it to each other. But at the end of the day, they needed to have those artifacts of learning, and I really love them a lot. Okay, so thank you for the comment about how they look. I had this kind of revelation back in the day of like, how do I entice my educators to use high quality content? Like, why do I want them to use this over something else? And then I realized, well, I really just need it to look really appealing. It's not just the appealing thing. It's actually really clean and clear and hopefully accessible. There's a question about where this was. And so this kindness challenge, I want to jump back over to my Safari to show it's right here. And I'm sorry, so it's not orange. So your brain might have been thinking I'm looking for something that's orange, and all of your collections are black and white. Mary, where is it? It's right here, called Data Analysis Kindness Challenge. This is the one we were just looking at. And when you open this, you'll see a little story behind it, and then you'll see a kindergarten, a first grade, and a second grade version. They're almost the same, but they're just a tiny bit scaffolded differently. Okay. No problem. Okay, I haven't been able to keep up a whole lot with the chat, but I am hoping somebody might have something to, oh, there was a question about making it on an iPad versus a Mac. Okay. I just happen to use my Mac for a lot of design, but I'll tell you, I always have my iPad right here. And I either AirDrop it or I'm working in iCloud, and I see what it's like on the iPad because our students are one-to-one iPads. Now, there's sometimes when I have drawings that I like to animate or I utilize on my iPad, and I will create there, but I kind of go back and forth, but pretty much 90-10 or 80-20 MacBook. That does not mean you can't design on your iPad. I just happen to like designing on my Mac. Are there any other questions I might have missed? Input, thoughts, suggestions, ideas? Yeah, preview on your iPad is really important. Y'all are so quiet.
Hi, Mary. Can I ask a question? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, it's Rachel. It's from Cardiff. We've got one-to-one iPads, but we've not used them very much at the moment. You're talking about digital portfolios that you've got with the pupils. How does that work?
Yeah, so my digital portfolio is where you access the files on Bulb. And in our district, our students all have digital portfolios on Bulb, our educators do, and our administrators do. And so we're still learning about best practices, but I would say I like to create templates so that they fill in like parallels. So here's the learning experience, and here's a template with some prompts or reflections where they can put it. It could be something big. So like this whole year we learned about this thing, and here's my artifact of learning. We like to use them to show growth over time. And so we want them to archive that or collect that in process work. I love to use it because it's where I share stuff. I've also got collections where it's more like a blog where I'm writing my thoughts. So anyway, still room to grow, but that's how our students use it for reflection. And then they can take it with them once they graduate.
That's great. Do they have to submit that to you though? Because the school I'm in is like hybrid, where with Google it's there and they don't have to submit it to us. But with Keynotes, would they have to submit that, or would it be there that it's a two-way document always open?
Okay, well, there's two different things. First, with our learning management system, we use Schoology, but any learning management system, it's all set up behind the scenes. So they don't really, they would submit it, and then I would just look at the assignments. Now on their digital portfolios, we have it set so the system, we use Bulb, but the system is set so that you're in a group. So as a teacher, I can access my students at any time. Yeah. And then you can actually change the share level. So I could make it visible to the public, visible just to my institution or just my district, or a private link where I just give it to certain people. And so what you see when you access mine is visible to the public.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's brilliant. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And that keeps it safe. Like if you think about children, if you don't want them to share stuff, like just change those access rights, right? So the reason we're ending at 2:45 when we do is I'm part of the ADE book talk that starts at 3. Well, 3 Central. So in about 20 minutes. So if anybody wants to jump on there, that would be great. I'll be there, but I will stay here if anybody has any questions. Now, a question came, how long do they take? Oh yeah. So I understand how it could be challenging, like if we don't want them, if we're not saving and somebody else is using the device and you're worried about them deleting. Now you could have different like you could break it down into different files and have them just working on a certain one. But again, like if you had a place where you could archive it and pull it down, that would be fantastic too. I'm really just talking in circles here because I don't really know. But I do think not having such a giant file might be helpful.
Do you have any books or anything that you would recommend for conditional highlighting? Because I want to go like I want this to do this and this and this. Do you know of anything?
Mm,
Ooh, I stumped you. That's impressive.
well, I mean, you did. I've done a lot with spreadsheets and coding. So in my portfolio, there's a collection about coding, and there's a coding challenge, and I used it with where they had to, what did you code? I think we changed the alphabet to binary code, and then we used the binary code. I've come across sometimes though, Ryan, when I was like struggling with like I wanted to do this and this and this, and I couldn't get it to do all those things. But that doesn't mean we couldn't have a conversation about it, and I would love to chat about it. Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome. All right. Well, I'm here if anybody has any questions, but you are welcome to jump off if you feel that your needs have been met and you need to run somewhere else. Thank y'all for spending some time with me today. I hope this helped or inspired you a little bit. It's fast. 45 minutes goes fast.
Great stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, great.
I'm a former math teacher and I loved everything you did. I can't wait to share this with people.
Yay! Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was really great. Thank you very much. Thanks, Mary.
You're welcome. Hi, Kristen. It's good to see a familiar face. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.